Good morning, 7th grade history class. Welcome back to our third lesson of our online lessons that we're going to be posting over the next couple weeks. Before we get started, I just want to remind everybody that you guys took a test on Monday. It was test number 9. I've only received 2 people's tests that I've graded so far. So please make sure that you guys are bringing those tests in or send them in with your parents so I can grade them for you. It's now Wednesday, so I need to make sure that we are staying on top of that. So please make sure that you're turning that in today. Also today, you guys had your first assignment that's due over the break, and that's going to be the timeline which we assigned yesterday. Yesterday we started talking about section 1 of chapter 22, and of course timeline was your homework because we didn't finish the entire section. Today we're going to be finishing up the notes for section 1 in chapter 22. We're going to be taking notes over pages 328 all the way to 331. Now yesterday we started talking a little bit about the beginning of the war, about German unification and Italian unification. Today is going to be a little bit different. We're going to talk about alliances that lead up to World War I. These will be your notes for today's lesson. They are, like I said, from pages 329 to 331. And it's basically going to talk about lead up to the war from 1914 all the way up till the actual start of the war and the battles in France. So the war officially begins on June 28th, or this is the thing that sparks the war, on June 28th, 1914. Archduke Franz Ferdinand, who is the heir to the Austro-Hungarian throne, his uncle is the Emperor of Austria. His name is Franz Joseph, and he is the nephew of the Emperor, so he's going to be the next Emperor after his uncle dies. And so he is visiting a part of his empire in the Balkans, in Bosnia, and the capital city of Sarajevo. And while he's there, a Serbian nationalist by the name of Gavrilo Princip actually tries to assassinate him. He fails the first time, but the second time he was able to shoot the Archduke and his wife while they were leaving the city. The government of Austria and Franz Joseph send a letter to Serbia demanding that they hand over Princip so he can stand trial. Serbia essentially refuses. They say that Serbia is not a part of the Austro-Hungarian Empire, and therefore they don't have to do what the Austrians ask them to do. So once they refuse, Austria goes ahead and declares war on Serbia officially a month later after the Archduke is shot on July 28th, 1914. Now, since the end of the Napoleonic Wars, the major powers of Europe have all made alliances with each other. England, France, and Russia have an alliance, and Germany, Austria, and Hungary, and the Ottoman Empire, and also Italy a little bit, also have an alliance. And so because of these alliances, this is going to be the reason that actually World War I starts. Austria is going to get involved first with Serbia, and then the alliances is going to draw everybody else in because they basically promised to look out for each other if war does happen. And so before the war starts, we have 2 competing sides. Like I mentioned just a second ago, we have the, as they call the good guys or whatever, the Western Europeans. They're called the Triple Entente, and it's going to comprise of England, France, and Russia. Next, we have what's called the Triple Alliance, and the Triple Alliance is going to consist of Germany, Austria-Hungary, and Bulgaria. Now, later on, like I said, Turkey, or the Ottoman Empire, is going to join the Triple Alliance, as well as Italy, but then Italy, about halfway through the war, is actually going to switch sides, and they're going to join the Triple Entente. Now, once the war begins, they're actually going to change their names. The Triple Entente, the reason it's called the Triple Entente is because there's just 3 members, but once they have more than 3 members, they're going to change their name to the Allied Powers. And the other members that are going to join the Triple Entente, of course, are going to be Serbia, backed by Russia, Belgium, which is protected by France and England, Romania, again backed by Russia, and then Italy is going to join in, Greece, Portugal, and Japan. The Triple Alliance, once they gain more members, they're going to change their name to the Central Powers, and that's what they'll be known as throughout World War I. Again, they're going to they're going to add the nations of Bulgaria to their side, the Ottoman Empire, Turkey, and Italy will leave. Now, the first major battle, or most of the battles that are fought in World War I, are going to be fought on the French border. The French border with Germany. This is known as the Western Front. Most of the war is fought in France, around the city of Paris and around the major rivers in between the land between Germany and France. Some of the war is going to be fought in Belgium as well, and then it's also going to be fought on what's called the Eastern Front in Russia. The first major battle of the war is called the Battle of the Marne. The Marne is a river in northern France, and it basically separates German territory from French territory. The Battle of the Marne happened in 1914 in October, and both sides basically tried to outflank each other. The side that got closest to, or the fastest to the English Channel was to be able to outflank the other side and attack from the rear, and whoever takes each other's capital, whether it be Berlin or Paris, that side would win. Because they're trying to outflank each other, they meet at a different battle as each army is moving around each other at a town in in Belgium called Ypres, Y-P-E-S. Ypres is in Belgium, like I said, and the British at the Battle of Ypres lose about 50,000 men trying to stop the German advance. This is the beginning of what's called trench warfare. It's basically where each side digs in trenches, and in between the two trenches, they're going to place mines, barbed wire, machine guns, any kind of explosives, anything that can, mustard gas, poison gas, whatever. And then every so often, one side would get up out of their trenches, charge across what's called no man's land, and try to kill the guys on the other side. All right, so this is very, very violent, very brutal, and not a lot of territory is being taken. All right, very small movement of troops. Fighting may, cost about 1 million guys, but you may only take 5 to 10 miles of territory. This is known as trench warfare, and this is what the Western Front is defined by. We'll talk a little bit more about that as we get into the next lesson tomorrow. That is all the notes that we have for today in section 1. If you haven't taken down all these notes yet, this would be a time to go ahead and pause the video and make sure that you have all the notes written down. The last two notes that we talked about are actually the beginning of the next section, section 2 of chapter 22, which we will begin talking about tomorrow. And then, of course, you have a little bit of homework tonight. Your homework tonight, if you've already looked at your packet, is going to be section 1 review of chapter 22. I need everybody to do that, and I also need everybody to bring those tests in or send those tests in or scan them or whatever as soon as possible so I can go ahead and grade those tests for you. So, the test number 9, chapter 22 timeline, and section review 1. I hope you guys are staying healthy. I hope you all have a great day, and thank you for listening.